what's up? It is GVK Collectibles, and you know what day it is? It is Monday. It is Mythical Mountain Monday. Basically, where the show I talk about the comics that I read from the previous week, what I liked, what I enjoyed. There was a lot of good stuff this week, and there was a lot of stuff I felt like that didn't make the cut. Some of the major ones I want to talk about, the ones that didn't make the cut. Demon Days, Cursed Web was really, really cool. Peach Makoto continues to do an amazing job with this kind of, with the X-Men and like the Marvel Universe as a whole within like ancient Japanese like mythology, which I really, really love. Hellions continues to be one of my favorite X books. Superman, Son of Kal continues to be such a great book. I actually got to finally read that one. New Mutants is really, really good. Wonder Girl is really, really cool too. It is continuing setting up like Yara Florn's like role within the DC universe as of right now, because you know, which is really, really good. Spawn continues to be really, really cool. I'm very excited to be into Spawn. Vengeance of Vampirella is taking a cool and unique direction I really, really like, of where it's kind of becoming like a kind of road trip almost, with Jenny and Vampirella kind of showing the different different places of the world that have been kind of ravaged by Nyx, and ultimately seeing the kind of the fallout. One that like barely made the cut that I wish did was Basilisk, chapter 4 from Colin Bunn. That story continues to be really, really good. We got our first conflict with Hannah and the Chimera group, and it was really, really cool, and it ends on a cliffhanger that ends with very much more higher stakes than like where the Chimera first, so they're kind of setting their sights on a bigger city as opposed to a small town that Hannah was from. So it was really, really cool, and it was really, really cool to see her combat the Fateful and even the Chimera themselves, which was really, really cool. So with that out of the way, that is some of the just my quick thoughts, because there was a lot of good books. So with number, I guess we want to say, let me rearrange. You know what? Let's start off with this one, because it was really, really cool. This is a really, really good comic. It is Frontier, number 5 from Joshua Williams. The series continues to be really, really great, and it continues off where the last issue left off. It actually has a opening dialogue from Psycho Pirate, who basically says it's like, hey, I remember the first Crisis, so it is really, it's really, really cool, because this book, and just generally everything within this whole story, essentially, is very reliant on DC's past with, the Crisises, Infinite Crisis, Crisis of Tour, pretty much all the Crisises, and he actually basically made a deal with different people from different Earths to basically say, hey, you're going to be protected if your Earths are going to be protected if you help Darkseid, essentially. And it's really, really cool. There's a lot of cool fighting moments I really, really enjoyed, and there's a lot of great revelations. We also get to see who Extract is, which is really, really cool. But, overall, this, is such a fun book. Ultimately, the next issue is actually coming out this week, which I'm very excited to see what it is. But, the fighting is really amazing, and, seeing all these different kind of characters from the different ports of different worlds is really, really awesome as well. And we kind of learned that, we actually learned Roy Harper is actually kind of the key to, everything of him having this Black Lantern ring, and it's kind of the idea of that the ring is, basically, the idea of, I don't know, it's just, it's really, really cool, because it's basically kind of a key to everything that can, to this multiverse. But unfortunately to him, he is a little too late, and Darkseid shows up and calls him, with my Omega Lantern at my side, I control all. So this is really, really cool. Now this series is going to be spinning off. There's a lot of cool character moments, a lot of you get moments with Flash still being kind of hypnotized almost by Psycho Pirate into thinking he's saving the world, because a big portion of Psycho Pirate's plan is to use Barry Allen, because Barry, it's cool because they call back to continuity. showing Barry Allen was the first one to cross multiple worlds, which is really, really cool. And it was like, it's just super, super cool. And it's also cool to see Psycho Pirate, this character who's been kind of not relegated, because he's been really one of the only ones to and from this point to really truly remember the multiverse as it is. And he kind of learns of like, he has gotten fed up because people thought he was crazy, put him in Arkham for so many years, and it was but the thing is, like, whenever a crisis happens, usually new shiny things get in. So, like, his Earth 2, when it was the second crisis, that wasn't his Earth 2. That was a completely new and different Earth 2. So it is really, really cool. For me, who, like, I haven't really read all the Crisis's books, but, like, but I've, like, seen and heard people talk about them, like, I kind of know what the basic story of each one of them is. It's really, really cool to see Joshua Williams pull a lot of that for this book. It's really, really cool, and I think it's really, really well done. Calvin Ellis also gets a lot of cool moments, too. But yeah, it's just a fun book. Like, I am very excited to see the conclusion of this series. But technically, Infinite Frontier ends with the issue number 6. But it will continue on with, I think, Justice League Incarnate, which is going to be the multiversal Justice League, which is pretty cool. So yeah, issue number 5 of Infinite Frontier, really, really cool. It just gave my thoughts. I think it's a really, really cool issue, really well done. I am interested to see what Darkseid plan is, what Darkseid is going to be, like his final end game is going to be for the final issue. I'm very excited to see that. So with my number 4 recommendation, it is the brand new run of Red Sonja number 1. Now, recently the previous series had ended, and it's actually kind of cool because we actually established that one of the big key factors of this book is Red Sonja is searching for a little girl that is lost. Her name is Scythia, and basically what we're kind of assumed that she's actually a Hyberian but it's really, really cool because it's like she is basically, what we learn is Red Sonja is tasked with kind of retrieving this little girl from this kind of king, and ultimately this little girl immediately takes up as Sonja as a mother, even though Sonja's like, I'm not your mother at all. It's really, really cool, and they actually get a lot of cool dialogue, and we get eventually a pass of what is happening, like what the this man is trying to get this kid, and basically she's kind of like this powerful, like, priestess. She can become this very powerful priestess, and ultimately and it was eventually learned she was kidnapped from her crib. So basically Sonja is tasked with retrieving this child, and she essentially thinks this little girl thinks Scythia thinks that Sonja is her mother, and Sonja continues to deny it. Then ultimately we do see they kind of bond. Eventually the bandits, because there had been bandits that had run into the village that Scythia was in. Ultimately, they came back to take out Red Sonja, and of course, it's actually something happens where Red Sonja actually kind of gets the shit kicked out of her. She doesn't get the upper hand, which is very unlike a lot of the comics of where she's just like a beast and will like kill people. But we eventually learn that Scythia is very much that priestess, and she's kind of like a pyrokinetic almost, and she's really, really cool. As Sonja is kind of like late dying, she's just like she's ultimately saved by this kid. So it's very interesting and very cool. It's very opposite of where you see Red Sonja normally. Usually she's like the badass in charge. So it's very different to see that. And also, I really like their dynamic, and I think they're going to be growing not apart, but going together. The art is really, really killer. From oh my god, where the artist credits? the, like, once again, I think the art looks absolutely outstanding. So it is, the illustration is Gusimero. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because I'm going to butcher it, but I'll put it right there. I have all the creative teams usually. But the art is just killer in this book. I think it is a wonderful book. Wonderful looking book. Really, really cool. Dialogue's really, really cool. I love the writer who is doing this. Mirka Adolf and Luna Benito? I am so horrible at names. I am so sorry. But either way, I think this was a fun book, and I'm very excited to see where this continues to go with Sonja. It's very different, I think, for the character. Very cool to kind of see that. Ultimately, I thought she had a kid, but that's not the case. But I feel like it's going to be kind of a maybe a Mandalorian situation of where she kind of like becomes this little girl's adopted mother. That's what I think is going to go in the story forward. But yeah, that's my number 4 recommendation. Red Sonja number 1. Pretty great. I'm very excited to see where the story continues. Alright guys, and my next recommendation, my number 3 recommendation for today, it is Batman Fear State Alpha. This is the beginning of the Fear State event that it is ultimately going to. It's the kind of culmination of James Tynions' time on the Bat title so far. This is going to be pretty much his last. He's going to be done after this and doing his own thing. But basically, what we learn is that many months ago, really before everything that's been going on, and assumingly before the A-Day attack, so it's actually kind of cool. Simon Saint basically talks to Dr. Crane, basically wanting to initialize kind of a plan to work together of like the Fear State, based on a Fear State theory. He thought, like, he finds it interesting. So the Fear State theory is basically if society experiences a traumatic event that makes them mendable, and it like will change them to change their expectations of how treat the not drama, but the trauma of like an event. So basically pushing past the trauma of where you're able to kind of like feel numb to it almost. And that's precisely what Simon Saint wants to do, and basically kind of implement the Magistrate program, which he's been doing currently right now within the Bat books. But of course, you know, Scarecrow goes off the rails immediately. He, as we know from the previous issue of Batman, sticks Peacekeeper 1, aka Sean Mahone, with Fear Toxin, and now he's just hopped up on Fear Toxin, and basically Saint is like pissed. So what is basically going on now is that Saint is ultimately going to take control of Gotham, essentially, through powers of Mayor Nakado, which is like having blackouts, media, and they're pretty much going to be the only ones producing, so trying to get propaganda going for the Magistrate to say that it works as opposed to Batman, which is very, very interesting. Montoya is ultimately not happy about this, as she feels like it's a mistake, and she basically is like is kind of like not directly calling Nakato an idiot for trusting Saint, but ultimately Nakado is a very interesting, because I don't think he is a direct villain. He has very much the same motives of Batman, but just has really dumb, stupid ways of achieving it, and it's just because he's under, I think it's also due to he's under pressure from the public to make Gotham safe, because that was kind of his main thing as a campaign. We eventually learn that Montoya doesn't like Mahone at all. Like, she knows he's a corrupt, as like pretty much everybody who was in Arkham, so it is really, really cool. So they're basically doing a media blackout at this point, and Montoya is essentially going rogue with the GCPD, it seems. Not going rogue, but they're basically getting everything set up. So what this basically is, this story sets up everything that's going to happen within all the different books. So you got like the Bat family, you got the main Batman title, and you got like somebody has hacked Oracle, so clearly somebody has like hijacked information. We don't know who exactly it is. We don't know if it's Scarecrow or if it's the Magistrate themselves or somebody completely different who's working with Scarecrow, which is very interesting. So I think this is also the sign showing Barbara is going to come out of retirement to be Batgirl again. And also we get with Harley and Miss Gardner, along with Ghostmaker and Miracle Molly. They're in the domain of Queen Ivy, who is actually... So, apparently something that happened where Poison Ivy is actually, her personalities are split, the more kind and docile version, and the more kind of I hate everything, and I is more kind of connected to the plants. Connected to the green, I should say. This is a story, like, it's cool because this is an element I'm familiar with, just because, and if you are familiar, if you've been reading the Swamp Thing, the new Swamp Thing run, you'll know exactly what's going on, as I knew with this. But it is really, really cool because they're kind of storing, and also Catwoman actually has the nice half of Ivy, the more innocent half of Ivy. But basically, this kind of shows all the different members of the Bat family, and it also shows Jace Fox, of course, coming out to be Batman, essentially, and his ongoing actually debuted. But basically, this is the beginning of Fear State, which is... I am super excited. The art in this book was absolutely killer. The writing is really, really good. I think I loved the whole exchange with Dr. Crane and Simon Saint. I think it was really, really well done. Time does a great job. This book in general was really, really good and makes me excited for this event going forward. I mean, and this makes me want to check out, I Am Batman. I want to see what Jace's position is on everything within this. But yeah, that's my number 3 recommendation. It is Batman Fear State Alpha. I'm super excited to see where this goes into the future for Batman as a whole. So, with my number 2 recommendation, so this was actually kind of a tie, but I think the one that did make it out. So this was one that I didn't really know about, but due to the writer, you're going to probably know who it is. I had to check it out. It is Marvel Dark Ages from Tom Taylor, and art by Iban Selo, and colors by Brian Ribber, I believe. So Dark Ages is cool because this is essentially a steampunk story of where we kind of, very much like DC Deceased, very much like every other, very similar to that, of where there is an event that goes on to set this world kind of in motion. Basically what we learn is that everybody, so it's cool because, once again, Tom Taylor, with this being an Elseworld story, picks and chooses his own continuity. So Mary Jane and Spider-Man are together. You see Jessica Jones and Luke Cage together, and you also see that they have a kid. Mary Jane and Peter have a kid, and it's super, super cute. We see Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which is really, really awesome. We also see Xavier. So this is clearly not we're not dealing with Krakoa, because Apocalypse is there, and he's being not mean, but it is really, really cool. We get the Fantastic Four along with everybody. Then, because eventually everybody shows up to the Baxter building saying, hey, something's going on within the core of the Earth. And then, guess who shows up? The frickin' Watcher shows up. So this is it's kind of cool because it's kind of propelling this idea within this little universe that something's about to go down that's going to change the course. So basically there was a living machine that was created that basically was ultimately there to protect the universe and was there to consume black holes, but it eventually started to feed on darkness and it became very evil. And it could have destroyed apparently the universe, but it wasn't until the Living Tribunal actually defeated it and trapped it on Earth. And now it's in the Earth's core, and basically there's a team that's consistent of Ben Grimm the Thing, Susan Storm, Doctor Strange, Wanda Scarlet Witch, and the Vision. Ultimately, they meet this giant thing, this dude who's super good, super cool design, by the way, too. Ultimately, there you get to see different ports of the world. You get to see Wakanda, you get to see Atlantis with Namor, in New York. You get to see, once again, it's kind of cool because you have Laura Kinney and Gabby Honey Badger, which is really, really cool because, Tom Taylor wrote that, her run. It's actually really cool. You get actually different groups. You get the Runaways, Champions, I assume Scott Lang. And it's really, really cool. Ultimately, the team that is sent to defeat this thing is ultimately defeated. Ben Grimm is destroyed, pretty much. Scarlet Witch is made out of made out of reality, and ultimately Vision breaks through to the head of the sacrificing himself. Stephen Strange eventually dies of sending this thing to a portal that basically no light exists, to a universe where no light exists. Ultimately sending Susan Storm back, but the portal stayed open, basically destroying everything, like shutting everything off, basically. Like anything electronic, no suit, no power, and anything artificial. So you actually get to see Scott Lang's giant still, somebody's pacemaker's going out, Iron Man's flying down, and we also see Viv, who is the Vision's daughter, die, and also web shooters are not working. So eventually, Peter eventually goes back to the building where MJ, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage are at, and he's worried that his daughter and his wife have died, but luckily May's got her dad's spirit, so which is really, really cool. Then we cut to a little bit to 7 years, but 7 years after the light went out, and we have the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse with Apocalypse, and it's consistent of Iron Man, frickin' Reed Richards, Lady Deathclaw, Beast, Hulk, which it looks like Amadeus Cho, and Venom, of course. So it's gonna be super, super cool to see where this story goes. It's very much a steampunk universe within this. Oh, shit, so that's actually cool. So apparently the Venom is actually Miles frickin' Morales, so that's gonna be cool. Like, I'm very excited to see where this goes in the future. It's a cool way to set up this story. Once again, it just very much sets up the story for, just basically for Tom Taylor to play with. But man, this was a fun story, and I'm super hooked on it. Tom Taylor's probably, along with James Tynion the fourth, are probably, they're 2 of my favorite writers at this point right now. They do amazing stuff with it, whether it be independent, working with the big 2. It's really, really great. So yeah, if you can find it, definitely check out Dark Days #1. This is definitely a series to check out. I think it's a phenomenal read. Right. Oh my god, I just smacked myself in the face. So, with that being out of the way, you guys got done seeing my #2 recommendation. Now I'm going to get to my #1 recommendation, and it was really, really a tie between those 2 books, this Dark Ages and this book. But I had to give it to this book because it was such a fun ride, something I wasn't completely expecting, and let's just get on with the book. It is Geiger #6. It is the end of Volume 1 of Geiger. And man, John's, like, this is his first independent book since working with DC in a long time, and man, it was fun, entertaining, crazy, very unique and different book. Basically, it kind of continues off where we left off, where Henry is, they're very much going to kill Henry because he has leukemia. Geiger and his sister are ultimately going to escape along with Geiger out of the facility, and ultimately one of the kids actually helps him out, helps Haley and Henry and Geiger out, the kid that we previously met in the previous issue, to basically get out. Then ultimately we're introduced to Junkyard Joe. So Junkyard Joe is actually going to be, so if you've seen any of the kind of like little like kind of backstory, not little backstories, but like the little issues, like little previews here and there, you kind of know that they're really setting up this kind of universe here now with this kind of guy. And the fight with Joe is super, super well done with Geiger. I really love like the look and design. It's a really like really beastly fight. It's really, really well done. Ultimately, at the end of it, Geiger manages to defeat the robot, and but ultimately at the cost of his rods that are basically keeping him alive so he doesn't explode, are destroyed. So he's kind of like he's essentially a ticking time bomb at this point. But Haley goes to him and basically is able to, like, he is able to stop him because Geiger has kind of found a family again with Haley and Henry after his family had passed away. Ultimately, Rick ultimately waves him goodbye, knowing that he's probably not going to see him again. Ultimately, after this, Geiger is he's having a hard time keeping himself together, being able to control himself. But it kind of shows that there's one final moment of where the king is trying to basically kill Geiger because he's this big old boogeyman, and he thinks, oh, I'm willing to, he's just arrogant in a lot of ways, and ultimately he sends several of his nuclear knights to go after in a jeep. Ultimately, Geiger fucking eviscerates him, which is beautiful. Then it isn't until they actually get to Copper Canyon, and they get to a facility where the doctor that actually helped Geiger is at. Ultimately, there's a woman in red. The nurse red is ultimately shows it's like, you're not allowed to be here. So something clearly happened within the past that we don't know. But we ultimately, Geiger says goodbye to Henry and Haley, and they ultimately leave. He ultimately leaves, reads books. He buries his family, and he kind of sets off for his final fight to take out the nuclear knights. And basically, he explodes where he found peace. And it's really, really beautifully done. Gary Frank art in general is really beautiful. I really, truly love this book. And, of course, we got Barney, who sees on and yelps. But what we eventually learn is that is the story of Geiger, or at least we thought. It was the end of Geiger. The end of Geiger himself? No. Geiger's story was only the beginning. Boulder City is gone. Geiger's story was only the beginning. So it's really, really cool because it is setting up... Oh, that's actually cool. So that's actually something I didn't know. You actually see a little green glow in the background, so maybe Geiger is alive after all, but you never know. That's actually cool, and it kind of sets up what this Continues wants to do, but it also sets up this kind of universe, the Geigerverse, I think a lot of people are calling it. And our next book, it is Junkyard Joe, which is very, very interesting, and it's very cool because they basically established this universe called the Unnamed. It's really, really cool because they took a lot of big inspiration from American myth and folklores like Tall Bunyan, Calamity Jane, and really decided to continue fixing on this, which I think is really, really great. So basically, this is kind of the beginning of this universe, I guess the Unnamed universe, where it is these men are great men and women are mysteries, but for great evil to be stopped, their stories must be told, from a radioactive family man in the near future to a Britain assassin during the American Revolutionary War to a robot killing machine seeking its owner, and more. They are the Unnamed, fighting the unknown war. So it's really, really cool, and we actually get a kind of preview. So Geiger isn't completely done. There is going to be a 80-page story called The Last, that's going to have, basically explore the Milky Way, the Disco Queen, the secret origin of Barney, the most wanted woman alive, shooting stars, the top secret spot, cocktail, tales of the unknown war, the victims of the safari, Goldbeard's secret treasures. So it's really, really cool, as it's going to be delving into the lore of this universe, which is really, really cool. Ultimately, it wasn't until I saw at the end, I truly do not think Geiger is gone. I think, because they say that this isn't the this is just, they call it the final volume of Geiger. So, this is the end of the first volume, so meaning we're going to get more of Geiger eventually. I don't know when, but man, what a story. It's really, really cool, really, really, really fun. As again, I say, if you're really a big fan of Fallout New Vegas, this is definitely your book. It feels very New Vegas, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, that's my #1 recommendation. So with that being said, guys, that's Mythical Mountain Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and hit a little bell notification so you know if I win Mythical Mountain Mondays, What's in the Box Wednesdays, Figure Review Fridays, all get uploaded. Also check us out on my Facebook page is down there, and our Instagrams respectively, and our Mercaris too. We have a lot of cool stuff on there as well. So with that being said, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Hopefully your week is safe and nothing really eventful happens, hopefully. Actually, have a good Memorial Day weekend. I completely forgot that it's Memorial Day. This is what happens when working again screws with you. You forget what holiday the holidays are. So for those of you who do celebrate it, have a happy Memorial Day. Or Labor Day. It's Labor Day, my bad, not Memorial Day. So yeah, with that being said, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.